Welcome to SysEng Quick. My name is John, and today I think we'll finish up the refactor of the Proxmox collection. In the previous video, I said we would be building a custom action plugin, but actually I think it makes more sense to write a custom filter plugin for what we need. So let's get started. Between episodes, I added several additional Linux distributions to the Cloud Image Lookup plugin. But there is a problem. When we first created the proof of concept, I told you that the getURL module does not work with certain kinds of checksum files, and Fedora used one of those. To work around that, we downloaded the file and then used a regular expression to parse that into a value that getURL could work with. But now we have the opposite problem. This no longer works for the other kind of checksum file we might encounter. So our Fedora files and Rocky Linux and a few others look like this, with the algorithm, the file name in parentheses, and then the SHA checksum. The other kind of file looks like this, where it has the checksum, an asterisk, and then the name of the file. So how are we going to handle both kinds of values? Well, I'd like to replace all of this logic here with a custom filter plugin. We'll transform the data from this file into a checksum value that can be used with getURL no matter which kind of checksum file we encounter. So let's go ahead and build that custom filter plugin. Let's open the File Explorer, scroll up to Plugins, and we'll make a new plugin in the filter directory called filters.py. The name of the Python file does not correspond to the name of the filter. We'll see how that works later. So I'm going to go ahead and copy in this boilerplate. It's just a copyright notice and the from future import annotations that we've seen in our other modules and plugins. To make a filter module, we need to define a class called filter module. And it doesn't have a base class, it just inherits from object. And then we're going to define a single method called filters, which takes no properties. And it's going to return a dictionary, and the keys are the names of the filters. I'm going to call checksum, and the values are the functions we want to run, which again, I'm going to call checksum. Let's define this checksum function. So we'll define checksum, and the first argument is what we're filtering, which in this case, I want to filter the checksum file. So let's say checksum file, and that's going to be a string. And then we're going to give it another property for the file name, because we need to know if we found the right file name inside the checksum file. That's also a string, so we'll return a string as well. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's get some Ansible errors. So let's say from Ansible errors import Ansible filter error. So if we don't find a checksum, we'll raise an exception. So raise Ansible filter error, and we'll say unable to find checksum for file name in checksum file. Okay, so what else do we need to look at? Well, we're going to need to open this checksum file and read the data in. So let's open up a try block, and let's do with open checksum file for reading as F, and we'll put the exception over here. So if we get an IO error, we'll go ahead and raise a new exception here. So we'll do raise Ansible filter error, and we'll say unable to read checksum data from file name. And we'll give it its original exception of E. Okay, now I want to iterate over all the lines in the file. So let's say for line in F, and we're going to do something. So what are we going to do in here? Well, we need to do some regular expression matching. We're either going to have a line that looks like this, and if it matches, we'll have a checksum, or we'll have a line that looks like this, and we'll have a checksum. Otherwise, we just keep going. So let's go ahead and make a pattern for those two things. We have one for the first one. It's this pattern right here. It will need some adaptation, but we'll fix that in a minute. So let's go ahead and import the regular expression module. And we're going to say if match equals regular expression dot match, and I want to give it a raw string. And we're going to need to fix a couple things in here. So here's where the raw string ends. We'll need to add the file name and get rid of the Jinja stuff. And we'll pass another raw string in there. And I think that should be correct. So match will return none if this is false. So we should be able to just put a colon here and keep going. So if we made it inside this if expression, we should have a match now. So I want to transform the two groups into our string. So we'll return the f string, and the first one is going to be match.group, and I can't remember if they're 0 indexed, but I guess we'll find out. And I want to put SHA in front of that, and we'll put a colon, and then it's match.group2, and that should be good. Okay, so that is fine. Now we need to make another regular expression match for our other pattern. So in here, we're going to have a bunch of hex characters, an asterisk followed by the file name. So let's go ahead and do something like that. So we'll go ahead and say if match equals regular expression match, and I want to give it a bunch of raw strings here. So we want to use a capturing group, and it's going to be any digit 0 to 9 and A through F, and we're going to have a bunch of those characters. And then we're going to have the asterisk, and then we're going to have the literal file name here. So if we get a match on that, then we can return our new SHA sum. So we've got our SHA sum, but how do we know what algorithm it has? Well, unfortunately, it doesn't tell us, but we can determine that by the length of the SHA sum. If it has 32 digits, it is a SHA-256. If it has 128, it's SHA-512. So the length of our match tells us which one we have. So we'll say checksum equals re.group. I want the first one. And then if length of checksum is equal to 32, then we're going to return SHA-256 colon and the checksum. So it's going to be re.group1 and make that an f string, and that should work. Otherwise, if the checksum is equal to 128, then we're going to return SHA-512 re.group1. And no, I don't know why I didn't put checksum in here instead of regroup. Okay, that should be good. And if it's not either of those, then I'm not sure what we have. I'm not going to worry about it. So we'll just keep looking in there until we get that. Okay, so I'm thinking I must have forgot to put the line in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So second option to this match argument should be the line. And same thing down here. Okay, I think that is good, actually. If we have this information, it should work out. Okay, I corrected 4 minor issues here. I had file name, so checksum file here in the error. The length of a SHA-256 sum is 64 characters, not 32. I had RE here instead of match. That was wrong. And finally, this regular expression should have had an escape for this asterisk. Other than that, I think everything is good. So let's go try it out. I made some changes to this playbook to test the filter plugin. So checksum is going to be passing the checksum file into our checksum filter and giving it the file name. So checksum file is going to be checksum1, and here's the file name we're looking for. Now checksum1.txt, this will give us an example of error handling because it won't be able to find this file. It is not properly pathed. So let's go ahead and try that out. And you can see unable to read checksum data from checksum1.txt. No such file or directory. So it does error handling okay so far. So let's go ahead and comment out these properties, and we'll uncomment out this with the qualified path. Run that again, and hey, it found our checksum, and yes, it is a SHA-256. So that looks good for that file. Let's go look up this value real quick. So in this checksum file, if we go look for that, we get this SHA checksum here, and yes, it does match the right file. It is Rocky 8 generic cloud latest. So there we go. That is working properly for the first checksum. Let's try the other format, the Ubuntu format. Let's go ahead and save that and run the plugin one more time. It got us a SHA-256. Let's go see if we can find this file or this checksum. Okay, in checksum 2, we'll go look for that value. And hey, it is the Noble Server Cloud Image AMD64.image. So yes, that all looks pretty good. Our plugin appears to be working. Remember when I told you that some of the file names may not end in .qco2 and that could cause problems for Proxmox? Well, the Ubuntu image is one of those. And we do want to add the .qco2 extension, but if we get the file name from the lookup plugin, it's not going to match what's in our checksum file. So I think that may have been a premature place to place that. So let's go ahead and make a change to our lookup plugin. So over here in the Cloud Image Lookup plugin, I'm going to go ahead and comment out this stuff. And I'm just going to say the file name is just whatever the image file is. So we're not going to add the .qco2 extension in here. Instead, we'll make another filter plugin to add the .qco2 if it's needed. So let's go ahead and go back to our filter plugin, and we'll add a new function here. We'll call this filter the qco2 image name, and we'll give it a file name as a string as our only property, and we're going to return a string. So over here what we did was this, so let's go ahead and copy this over here. Don't need to get the file name, we already have that. So instead we will just say uncomment that and then return the file name. And now if we didn't have it before, we will have it now. So that's a good place for that. Let's go add our new filter to our filters. So here we'll say qco2 image name, which is qco2 image name. Okay, I think that should be a good place to put our filter now and guarantee that our file name ends in qco2 for Proxmox, but not from our lookup plugin. Okay, so where we need to actually make use of that? Well, let's go back into our task for the cloud image. So down here in our roles in Cloud Image Tasks, you can see that we write the file name here. This would be one of those places we need to make sure there's a .qco2 extension. So instead of supplying the image file name, let's filter that with the plugin. So we're going to have sysng quick proxmox qco2 image name. And there are no properties. We don't need any arguments there. So that should be good for that. There is one other place we use the image file that might be different from the lookup plugin, and that's when we actually build the image. So let's go into the create VM role, into our task main file, and down here there's another place where it uses the file in SCSI0. And again, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're just going to filter that with our new qco2 image name. And there we go. That looks like it ought to be pretty good. Okay, now we have safely added our qco2 extension, and it won't interfere with the checksum work we're trying to do now. I think we're ready to replace all of these vars with our new filter plugin. So we have the image file name, which is just image file name, and we need to pipe that into our new filter. So that's sysengquick.proxmox.checksum, and we need to pass the image file name. So actually, that's not the image file name, is it? Yeah, this is the image file name. I actually want the temp file path. That's the checksum file. So let's go ahead and give it that. And that, I think, looks good. So we'll go ahead and comment out all of these vars. We shouldn't need those anymore. Let's go back into our host, and we'll make sure it creates a new VM. We'll just call it proxy3 and see if it works with a Fedora 40 host. It should work the exact same way. So let's try it out. It seemed to have no problem with the checksum. So what we need to do now is try a new host where we'll have to download another image. So let's go ahead and do that. First of all, let's call it proxy4, and our global cloud image name, let's make it Rocky. That should be fine, right? Yeah, we'll do Rocky. It's a whole new image. Now Rocky uses the exact same checksum that Fedora does. So this should be the exact same thing. But will it be? We're about to find out. Yeah, everything appears to have worked just fine. It got the checksum and it figured out what it was when downloading the file. But that's still the same kind of checksum. What about the most complicated problem? How about we go to one of the Ubuntu servers? Let's do Ubuntu minimal. So we'll save some time downloading this. So let's go back here and we'll make it proxy5. And let's run it one more time. Wow, for some reason that downloaded really slow, but it does seem to have worked. So, okay, that looks pretty good. Let's try one more variation. Debian uses the same kind of checksums that Ubuntu uses, but it does SHA-512. So can we do a Debian image? Let's do proxy6, and I want to do Debian bookworm. One last test. I kind of thought I did define Debian bookworm, but apparently I didn't put it in the validation. That's my bad. I'll go fix that. For now, we'll go Debian 12 instead. Okay, it said it couldn't find the checksum, so maybe there is a problem there. Let me go check on why that would be. Okay, so I noticed that in the Debian file, this asterisk over here is not present in the Debian one. It's just two spaces. So I'm not sure the exact syntax of this file, but I just changed the regex to say it's a space followed by either a space or an asterisk. So hopefully that works for all checksum files. If not, I guess I'll fix it when I come across a new one. But for now, it does work. If I go back and test Debian 12, and you will see that I put in a debug statement over here. So it does find the checksum, and it is SHA-512 for the Debian version. So yeah, everything is working, and I think that is everything I wanted to refactor in the Proxmox module. I hope that you're enjoying the work on the Proxmox collection. I do intend to publish that to Ansible Galaxy once this project is complete. So I wanted to make sure it was as reusable and functional and easy to use as possible. So I hope these refactors have been helping meet those goals. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions for making this more usable or want to add another distro, please submit a pull request. I would be glad to see more flexibility in this collection. I think that we've probably come to the end of the refactoring for now. Unless I find something major that's wrong with it, I think we're ready to move on to the other parts of the project. If I have any more changes to make, I'll probably do them off camera and then just let you know what was changed and why I thought it was important to change that. But for now, I think this is a good wrapping up point for today's video. If you like the content, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. It helps out the channel and I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.